Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studios today by Ray Ora.
Hey, happy Monday.
Jonathan Voico.
Hey, everybody.
Paris Rose is here.
Happy Monday.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it into two parts. In the first part of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, comment, question, opinion you'd like us to address on the show, go ahead and use the tip link right there at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And as long as it's appropriate for us to address, we'll address it in the second part of the show. Also, by the way, if you happen to be watching this show when we're not live, like you're watching it later in the evening, the good news is this tip link is available 24/7. So if you have a thought or question you'd like to share, go ahead and use the tip link and we'll just address it on the next episode. And today is the final day that it is a double-digit wait for Deadpool and Wolverine. That's right, it is only 10 days. 10 days till Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, and we are all tremendously excited. It may have moved a little bit, I'm not going to lie. All right, with that all down, guys, let's get things going here, shall we, with our first topic today. Paris, what do we got up first?
All right. Well, in the recent Captain America 4 trailer, the world got its first chance to see Giancarlo Esposito in action. Ever since it was announced he was going to be in the movie, many people have speculated about who he might be playing. But in a recent interview, Esposito says that no one has accurately guessed his character yet. John, do you think Giancarlo is telling the truth when he says that no one has guessed it yet?
No, I don't. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that one of the popular opinions and one of the popular guesses is it. Like right now, everybody seems to be going with that Giancarlo Esposito is playing George Washington Bridge. That seems to be the popular theory. And it may very well be that that's not the case. But I find it to be almost impossible that nobody has guessed, because there have been thousands of guesses, right? And that's just the ones that I've read. Thousands. Odds are one of those guesses are probably accurate. Now, there's also the possibility that he is just straight up lying. Because if you remember, not long ago, when Black Panther Wakanda Forever was coming out, the cast made this bold claim: nobody's yet guessed who the new Black Panther is. Yes, they did. They all did. And when we saw the movie, and it totally was exactly who most people thought it was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was that. And of course, and you got, that liar, Andrew Garfield, who for like a year kept denying that he was in the new Spider-Man movie. Kept denying it, even when like multiple reports came out a year in advance that he was going to be in it came out. He still denied it. Even when video came out showing him literally there, he still denied it. But we all know that, of course, he was in it. So I have a feeling that he's not necessarily G.W. Bridge. But just for context, this is exactly what he said. This comes to us from Yahoo Entertainment, wrote this. Nevertheless, he shied away from revealing the character he'll be embodying in Captain America 4. Instead, Esposito seemed to be deriving pleasure from all the mystery surrounding his role. He stated, "I had an incredible time shooting it. I'm not telling you who I'm playing. People are trying to guess, and no one has guessed correctly yet." So I actually believe him that it might not be one of the popular guesses. I mean, I've seen some wild ones. Just today, I saw somebody saying that he's playing a Blade variant.
Oh, no.
It's like,
Creative.
But at least then Ray gets to see Blade.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be the only time we ever get to see a Blade if that's it. So my guess is he's not G.W. Bridge. He might be. I'm just guessing not. But we'll see. Of course, there is always the possibility that it's a completely original character.
Yeah.
Right? So like he's teasing it along as if it's an established character in the comics, but maybe it's a completely brand new character. I don't know. We'll find out. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Giancarlo Esposito saying, yeah, with all the guesses out there about who he's playing in Captain America 4, none of them are right. Is he right? Is he wrong? Is he lying? Or is he just, doing a little bit of subterfuge here? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your Thoughts? All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
Yeah. So back in 2021, a horrible tragedy occurred on the set of a small Western film called Rust, in which a gun with live ammunition somehow got onto the set, leading to the death of the film's cinematographer, Helena Hutchins. One of the individuals charged in the incident was actor Alec Baldwin, who was holding the loaded weapon when it killed Hutchins. But on Friday, the judge in this case dismissed all charges against Baldwin, ending the criminal proceeding. John, why exactly do you think the judge in this case threw out the charges?
Aside from the fact that he never should have been charged in the first place. I mean, again, this to me is like has been a completely ridiculous thing. Now, listen, there was negligence. Somebody needed to be held accountable, and the right person was held accountable. The armorer, the persons whose job it was to inspect the guns, make sure they were completely safe, and announce that they were cold. In other words, announce that they were safe. And then the first assistant director, whose first responsibility is on-set safety, is also supposed to verify that the gun is cold and announce to the director, the cinematographer, and the actor that it's a cold gun. It's completely safe. The reason the director never felt the need to go and inspect the gun coming onto his set was because the armorer and the assistant director said it was cold. The reason the actor, who is not a weapons expert, and by the way, once a weapons expert examines a gun, it is not an actor's place to reopen the gun, because once you start doing that, once you start fiddling with the gun, a lot of things can go wrong. It's not the actor's place to do that. As a matter of fact, you guys remember back when The Crow was being filmed? And of course, the tragedy that happened there as Brandon Lee got shot with something that was left inside the gun that, had it been properly inspected, wouldn't have been there, and he died. The actor who fired that gun was an actor by the name of Michael Massey, who I believe passed away just a couple of years ago. Guess what? They never charged Michael Massey. Why? Because the district attorney at the time, well, number one, Michael Massey was a no-name actor at that time, and the district attorney at the time said it was ruled a complete accident and that it is not the actor's responsibility to inspect the weapon. And if this was any other no-name actor not named Alec Baldwin, there wouldn't have been charges. But that's all aside. That's not why Judge Summer dismissed the case. Now, I've been reading online some people saying that Alec Baldwin's case got thrown out because of a technicality. No, it did not get thrown out because of a technicality. Something so ridiculous happened that it's stranger than fiction. Here's what Judge Summer basically ruled. This is why it was dismissed. In trials, it was established in 1963, this thing called the Brady Rule. Now, the Brady Rule has nothing to do with the GOAT, Tom Brady, totally different.
Or the bunch.
Or the bunch, which was around 1963, wasn't it? Something like that. And basically what this rule said was that prosecutors are required to disclose material evidence that is favorable to the defense in a criminal case. Now, this had to be codified back in 1963 because before then, arguments were made. It's like if the prosecutors found evidence, like let's say Paris was being charged with, I don't know, stealing the Mona Lisa or something like that.
Dang.
And I'm the prosecutor. And I find out that, I don't know, I find out that the person who was the witness saying that they saw Paris stealing it was actually unconscious at the time that he claims that happened. Well, I, as the prosecutor at that time, could just go, well, if the defense doesn't find this out on their own, that's on them. It's not my job to tell them what evidence I found. In 1963, the Supreme Court said, yes, it is. So there's this thing called the Brady Rule that just basically says if prosecution comes into possession of evidence, that has to be disclosed to the court and to defense. Well, here's the thing. Judge Summer ruled that this was violated. Now, for there to be a Brady violation, it's a very important thing because a Brady violation basically means a case gets tossed out. And for them to do something that extreme, for a Brady violation to be ruled, 3 very strict criteria must be proved. This is what Judge Summers said in court. Number 1, it has to be proved that the prosecution suppressed evidence. This, the judge said, was obviously true. As a matter of fact, so what happened was, the big question everybody had, everybody who thought Alec Baldwin was guilty, everybody who thought Alec Baldwin was innocent, everybody, the big question everybody had when this tragedy happened was how the actual F did live rounds of ammunition even get on the set of a movie, let alone into that gun. That's the question everybody asked. That's what we were all asked. Well, turns out ammunition that was a match for the bullet that fired and killed the cinematographer was found and turned into the police. And you know what the prosecution did? Told the police to file it under a different case number so the defense wouldn't find it. They literally filed it under a completely different case number with the intention so the defense wouldn't find out about it. So the judge ruled this is a clear situation where the first thing that needs to be met for a Brady violation, that the prosecution suppressed evidence, is clear. So point 1, verified. The second thing that has to be established for a Brady violation is that the evidence suppressed was beneficial to the defense and potentially exculpatory in nature. Now, what do they mean by exculpatory in nature? What that basically means, evidence that's exculpatory in nature basically is this evidence on its own could very well prove the defense's case, right? So it's like if the prosecution found a can of soup in the trunk of somebody's car that has absolutely nothing to do with the case whatsoever, then, it isn't a Brady violation if the prosecution doesn't happen to mention, oh, and amongst all this other stuff, we also found a can of soup. Because the can of soup had nothing to do with anything. It was completely unrelated, had nothing to do with nothing. Then that wouldn't be a Brady violation. In this case, when everybody is asking the question, how on earth did a live round get onto the set and into a gun? The judge ruled that, hey, I don't know, finding the matching ammunition is pretty important. That is suppressed evidence that was, the judge ruled, highly potential to be exculpatory evidence. So, number 1, that the prosecution suppressed evidence, check, for a Brady violation. Number 2, that the evidence suppressed was beneficial to the defense, check. The third thing that has to be proved for a Brady violation to become in effect is the evidence is material to the proceeding and or possibly affect the outcome of the proceeding. The judge, in this case, Judge Summer, ruled, yeah, absolutely. Finding the bullets that match the bullet that shot and killed the cinematographer is absolutely material to this case and very well could completely affect the outcome of the case. So, number 1, the prosecution purposefully hid the evidence. Number 2, the evidence that was suppressed would have been beneficial to the defendant and possibly exculpatory. And number 3, the evidence was absolutely material to the case. And by the way, according to the defense that got read in the statements, this was the 4th time the prosecution hid evidence. Everything that the defense says, from audio recordings of interviews to other physical evidence, it was the 4th time they did it. So basically, you had a case that never should have been brought, and a prosecution that knew they had no chance of winning because there's no jury in the world that was going to find Alec Baldwin guilty of this. Any common sense thing knows that he's not guilty of anything. He might be held financially culpable. Like there might be a civil case in which there might have to be some money that changes hands. There's civil liability. That could happen because he's a producer on the movie. And as I mentioned in open mic this weekend, I mean, hey, if one customer spills some apple juice on the floor in Walmart and another customer comes walking down, slips and hurt themselves, Walmart's not criminally liable for anything, but they could be civilly liable. So there could be a civil case still after this, but that's not the point here. So you had a case that never should have been brought, and the prosecution doing it knowing that they would never win, and then trying to get a famous actor as a head on their wall, broke almost every rule they could, even having the bullets filed in a police report under a different case number, specifically so the defense couldn't find it. It's just a laughable ending to a tragic thing. Now, as I mentioned in open mic this week, this does end all the criminal proceedings. Now, somebody might say, well, could he be charged for this again? Here's the important thing. By dismissing the case as a Brady violation, and this is the important words, with prejudice, the judge dismissed it as a result of a Brady violation with prejudice. With prejudice basically means it's over. Can't be tried again. It's done. So we all know that the armorer was tried and found guilty, is now currently serving time. By the way, the lawyer for that armorer is now saying he might want to have her conviction overturned because the prosecution's been hiding evidence. But whether that happens or not, the assistant director was given a plea deal. So the assistant director's not getting any time. So that's done. And now Alec Baldwin's case has been dismissed with prejudice. And so this is done. I still want to point out, though, that in the midst of all the circus of, what a wild story this has been. And at the heart of it, a young woman lost her life. And there's a lot of questions to be asked. For example, movie set protocol is that if there is a scene where a gun is required to be, even a fake gun is required to be pointed at a camera, for that shot, that camera shot, that the monitor and the cinematographer is supposed to be moved away. That didn't happen. The assistant director was supposed to do this. The armorer was supposed to do this. This was the thing where there were 1,000 points of fault. But it's just tragic this happened. Now, whether or not the movie ever actually comes out, I don't know. The Helena's widower came on as a producer last year, because this was a project Helena was passionate about, and he kind of thinks she would want the movie to come out. So I don't know what's going to happen after that. But as far as everything else goes right now, the criminal proceedings of the Rust stuff that's going on, getting close to 3 years, is now over. It's now done.
Do you think this was just, is it possible that they were actually gunning for Alec Baldwin, or was it could have been any big Hollywood name and they would have wanted them? It just seems so crazy to me. I was a bit naive when this first came out that anyone would see him as guilty. I just thought everyone would be like, oh man, this is such a sucky situation. But now with this new evidence and this new information, I wonder, is it an attack, like a personal attack on Alec Baldwin?
It did look like that at first, because there was everybody knows Alec Baldwin is pretty well known for taking shots at Donald Trump and stuff like that.
Political.
And initially, when the charges were first being filed, someone who's not even a state prosecutor, rather a Republican member of state Senate, specifically requested to be the special prosecutor of the case, which obviously was very politically motivated. But they got replaced. So I think it really became more of a wanting to go after a celebrity rather than going after Alec Baldwin specifically. I think the first time around with the first prosecutor, it was wanting to get Alec Baldwin. With the second one, I'm not convinced of that. I think maybe it was just going after a celebrity. And listen, also, it's prosecutors' job to pursue charges against anybody that they think may have been responsible. And then it's up to the court to determine if there was culpability or not, right? So I don't really hold too much against the prosecutor's office, except that, I don't think any jury in the world would have ever found him guilty of this. So anyway, this whole thing is now get put to rest, other than the fact that there may still be civil cases, but none of that involves criminality. None of that involves jail time or anything like that. So it looks like this will be the final chapter of a very, very sad, sad story. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you make of all this? Do you think maybe the prosecutor should be charged for this sort of thing? That's kind of up in the air right now because the judge laid into the prosecutor pretty heavy. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, Let's move on to our next topic here, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
Yeah, so the annual Comic-Con is upon us as hundreds of thousands of pop culture fans flood to San Diego. However, the convention's time in San Diego may be coming to an end after 2025, as convention representatives point to hotel price gouging as a prime reason they're now considering moving the convention to another city. So, John, what do you think of Comic-Con's comments, and do you think they should leave San Diego?
Okay, well, anybody who's watched my show for any period of time knows that for years, I am a big fan of the city of San Diego. I love, actually last night, Ann and I just made plans for our next San Diego trip. We love San Diego. But I have said for years, I think they need to move out of San Diego. And one of the reasons, which we'll get to in a second here, but the comments of Comic-Con is very, very relevant here. Because, you know, if you're putting on a convention, you got to think about your attendees' experience. When a Motel 6 is charging like $1,000 a night, that hurts your convention. It got so bad that a couple of years ago, people couldn't even book. If you were going to Comic-Con, you couldn't even book a hotel. You know what you had to do? You had to enter yourself into a lottery. And then on a particular day, you were notified if you were one of the lucky people who got selected that you had the privilege of overpaying for a hotel room. It was crazy. And now they're finally saying, look, we've had enough. And after 2025, which is when their contract expires, they're looking at moving. And I say good on them. They should move. I've been saying this forever. I didn't even tell you where they should move to. Las Vegas. And I'll tell you why. Here are 5 reasons why San Diego Comic-Con should become Las Vegas Comic. They should move SDCC over to Las Vegas. All right. Here we go. Reason number 1. I don't know if you've ever been to Comic-Con. It's a nightmare inside the convention center. There were literally years that I went to Comic-Con that I didn't step foot inside the convention center because it's insane. You are literally walking like this, catching everybody's, Comic-Con crud and all this kind of stuff.
Crud.
It is impossible. Like walking 15 feet, you get covered in the sweat of 5 other nerds. It's insane. Well, John, maybe the other nerds are getting your nerd sweat. Yeah, maybe some of that too. That just proves the point. But there's not enough space. There's not enough room. The Las Vegas Convention Center is literally, not figuratively, 3 times the size. The Las Vegas Convention Center is a monstrosity. It's huge. You can literally fit 3 San Diego convention centers inside of the Las Vegas Convention Center. Way more room, way more spread out, a lot more individual rooms for more panels, more overflow space, bigger rooms so more people can get into the panels that they want to see. And by the way, just as a little addendum to point 1, you also, within a hopscotch and a jump from the convention center, you've got T-Mobile Arena and you've got Allegiant Stadium, the new Death Star, where the Raiders play football. It's gorgeous.
And both of those are covered, right?
They're both covered.
So they don't have to worry about the whole drone thing, stealing information.
Drones, weather, anything like they're air conditioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So you got those things too for your Hall H areas, where again, one of the big problems with Comic-Con is the number 1 attraction of Comic-Con is the Hall 8 presentations. You got 150,000 people going to Comic-Con and less than 5% of the people going can actually fit in Hall H. That's a problem. That's a problem. Anyway, so the number 1 reason they should move to Las Vegas is they literally have a 3 times larger convention center and better subsequent facilities. All right. The second reason I think they should move Comic-Con is this may sound like a little thing, but it's a major thing. There are many more places to eat. One of the constant battles whenever we were at Comic-Con is, all right, lunchtime, we're hungry. Let's start our 4-mile walk. Because that's how far you got to go if you want to get to somewhere that doesn't have a 2-hour line. Because one of the things I love about San Diego is all the great places to eat in the Gaslamp District. The Gaslamp District is one of the coolest places in the world to hang out. I love it. But you got 150,000 people and they all want to eat. And there just are not enough restaurants for people to eat in unless you're going to walk a significant distance away or understand you're going to have to wait forever. In Las Vegas, every head turn, your eyes are going to fall on 17 different restaurants and some of the best restaurants in the world. So far more places to eat. And that actually becomes a major thing. All right. Number 3, much better inner city transportation. Las Vegas, for decades, has built itself and designed itself for easy transportation around the city. I have been to CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, which is bigger than Comic-Con. And you go into Las Vegas during CES, you wouldn't even know anything special was going on. You want to catch a cab from point A to point B or an Uber from point B to point C? No problem. I remember this one year, I actually booked this big house that was about 5 miles away from the convention center. We would just Uber in. But there were so many days that we would Uber get close to the gas lamp district, but then everything was just gridlock. And we would literally have to get out of the cab or out of that and walk the last 1.5 miles or 2 miles. I mean, it was really, really crazy. You couldn't actually get to where you wanted to go to. In Las Vegas, no problem. The inner city transportation is so well laid out, such a finely oiled machine that it just works way better than San Diego does.
Is this monorail that I have up, is that working now? Is that there?
Oh, I don't know. I've never used the Las Vegas monorail
because they've
got them that go in between some of the hotels and everything too, but I've never used it.
Yeah, because you can see up here in this image, it's like the upper right is the convention center, which connects to the monorail.
Yep, and they have tons of shuttles and public transportation and Uber and cabs, and they know how to get there easily. Now, because there is a trolley in San Diego, there is a trolley that can hold 40 people, whatever. But anyway, there's that. All right. So number 1, a 3-time larger convention center. Number 2, many more places to eat. Number 3, much better intercity transportation. Number 4, it's just a lot easier getting to Las Vegas. Obviously, I've never had a hard time getting to Las Vegas. I just get in the car and drive there. No big deal. From here, I can be there in an hour and a half. When I lived in Burbank, I could be there in about 2.5 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. No big deal. But for a lot of people, getting to San Diego can sometimes be a bit of a trick, depending on where you're coming from. Connecting flights, all that kind of stuff. Las Vegas, I don't know this for a fact, and maybe somebody can look it up and correct me, but I bet from buttfuck Indiana, you could probably catch the little single runway airport. I bet you anything, they've got a direct flight to Vegas. Everywhere has a direct flight to Vegas. It's just a lot easier getting to Las Vegas than it is from anywhere else. So that's a minor one. Granted, this point is more of a minor one, but I've heard so many nightmare stories from people at Comic-Con about just getting there was a pain in the ass. This makes it a lot easier. All right. Number 5, and this gets really germane to our point here. Infinitely more hotel rooms. And this is the main kind of spire of the argument, at least given this with what Comic-Con is saying. Again, I reference back again to when I went to Vegas for CES, which again is bigger than Comic-Con, way more people. I booked my hotel 48 hours before I went. I paid the regular price. I think I paid about $125, $125 for a night for a room. I think I stayed in Aria. And no sweat, no problem. You know why? Because it's Las Vegas. Last I checked, they had somewhere in the neighborhood of 175,000 hotel rooms in that town. A convention like CES comes into town, Las Vegas doesn't even break a sweat. Like, it's not even a hiccup. Like, oh yeah, okay. Because I remember I was in Las Vegas once when they were doing the NFL draft. Hundreds of thousands of people came into that. And at the same time, listen, I'm not a rodeo guy, but I guess some big rodeo, like the national championships rodeo, because everywhere I bloody went in Las Vegas that weekend, there was either somebody wearing an NFL jersey or a bloody cowboy hat with a 17-inch belt buckle. So people were there for the NFL draft and for this giant rodeo thing and some obstetrician convention and this and that. And you know what? Vegas never blinked. Never blinked. Yeah, come on in. We got plenty of rooms. Yeah, we don't have to jack up our room prices to $900 a night.
Yeah. Plus, there's plenty of off-strip options too. So, like, even if you don't want to pay like the premium prices of the strip, there's so many nice places just off-strip that are even cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? By the way, anybody going to Vegas? There's this really great little hotel just off the strip, like a block over, called Portofino. And all the rooms are suites. I think we paid like $80
I think I
a
stayed
night.
there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Because
It's a
I remember
really
we
nice
got a
little
suite
place.
and we're like, you got to be kidding me. This place is nice.
Yeah, it's like a block over from the strip. It's great. But the key thing here is that means anybody who wants to go can go, and you're not going to have to mortgage your future to go. You're not going to have to save up $4,000 just to pay for your hotels when you go. It makes it so you got a 3 times the size convention center, which means double the people can go, and you're still going to have more breathing room. You're going to have much easier time getting there, much easier time getting around town, a much easier time finding something to eat, and you're not going to have to spend your life savings to get a hotel room or enter a lottery to get one.
Yeah.
Over the years, whenever I've had these discussions with people about maybe moving Comic-Con, I have never heard one legitimate statistical reason why I should stay in San Diego, other than I like San Diego.
It's nostalgia.
Yeah,
That's a
I also just like, but I live in LA. It's so close. There's really no reason.
It's that, but also like nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep, there's nostalgia and there's preference, but preference is not a factual reason.
Once that becomes the new normal, then you're not worried about. After that year, you're no longer worried about San Diego. When you're given the benefits of what you can get in Vegas, and like things like Hall H, which is going to be like so much more accessible.
Yeah.
No more like sleeping overnight or whatever. No.
Now the math is mathing. I'm just really sad because it's just so easy. I have friends in San Diego, so I don't even have to get a hotel. But
I'm there. Listen. You go to San Diego Comic-Con, there's something so cool about being around the convention center, walking along the harbor and the bay, looking at all the giant mega yachts,
It's pretty.
seeing
It's
the
beautiful.
aircraft carrier.
It's pretty.
weather's great usually.
It's been great, but they've outgrown it.
The strip is really cool too, though.
Yeah, the strip, this world class.
And there's a lot of people that have never gone to Comic-Con, but at the same time, I've never been to Vegas.
Yeah.
And so this is like, oh my God, like this is gonna be great.
Now,
Vegas,
somebody
Vegas,
else in the live chat is asking a very good question. Why not LA? LA is a much bigger city. You know why? LA is not built for conventions like this.
Traffic already. Oh,
Nope.
Yeah,
no.
there's
You
already
don't have, first of all, yes, LA has a big giant convention center and there are hotels around it. They don't have nothing compared to what Vegas has right there.
Yeah.
It's much easier to get around. Yeah. And now the one drawback of a Comic-Con in Las Vegas and one of the big benefits of San Diego, the weather.
Yeah.
You would have to change.
Although it's been really humid in San Diego before, and that can stop.
Really?
Oh,
Some, but even when it's been really humid, it's been like 82.
Yeah.
80, often in the mid 70s, right?
Except for the year that I had to trek everywhere for AMC, I was sweating bullets. It was so
Yeah,
hot.
that
would have to change. You would have to change the dates if you
A
were
little
going to
bit.
go to Vegas.
Not
So,
really, but
First of all, there's like kids in these outfits
Yeah.
that are going to be walking on the strip like in 110 degree
Well,
weather.
yeah,
that's going to be a problem.
But that's a misnomer. Here's why.
You can connect.
When
and-
I go to NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters, something me and like Dennis Zen go to every single year. I love NAB, and it happens at the convention center. From the moment I wake up in my hotel room, get my Uber, get to the convention center, I spend a grand total of about 15 seconds outside.
Yeah.
So Ann and I go like 7 times a year to Vegas, right? This last trip we went to just a couple weeks ago hit 118 degrees in Las Vegas. You know how much I noticed it? None.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I didn't go outside. and when I was outside, I made sure it was for a minimal amount of time.
Yeah. If you get caught on that track, Ray's right. Like you could be in some serious trouble, especially if you're dressed up. Yeah. But you gotta add a little whiz.
I'm just thinking about the kids. Sometimes
well, the kids aren't walking by themselves.
Don't make decisions that we could walk there. We could do this.
Yeah.
And then they find out real quick.
Well, they're gonna find out quick.
Quick when their face is in the dirt and they need money, or they need money.
They need money.
They need water.
Money. What
They
did
need
you
water.
do in Vegas for money, Ray?
They need water.
What did you do
However,
in Vegas for money?
I will say this though: if you always have an option to go left or right into a hotel lobby and cool down real
Yeah,
quick.
by the way, Jeff Nicholas in the live chat, very good point. Said nerds are classic indoor folk. Yes,
very
yes.
true.
And you know what? You know what? Yeah, maybe on day one you think, oh, I can walk from the
Yeah, you'll learn
Venetian.
real
You
quick.
think?
Ray's right.
They'll find out real fast. No, we can't. They're going to duck into the next hotel, which is 15 feet away, and they're going to call a cab.
Yeah.
Now, but again, I absolutely acknowledge the heat in Vegas that time of
Oh,
year
yeah.
is a factor.
Yeah.
But it's one easily circumvented.
You know, it would sound great. Like a Comic-Con in May. April, May.
I like April
Real
even
nice.
better.
Yeah,
April's even
Real
better.
nice.
Vegas, April, even
If you're gonna,
even- yeah.
if you don't want to take the whole thing away from San Diego, give them their Comic-Con, but then do all the movie stuff, the big Hall H's. Do that in a bigger venue.
Yeah.
A lot more people want to see this stuff that they don't get to see. A lot of people buy a ticket just on the hope
The hope.
that they could get into this Hall Hope. Is what we're calling it.
Hope. Dashed hope.
They get a
Dashed hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because nobody gets, you know what? Allegiant Stadium,
There is no hope.
65,000 people. You can get like half the attendees of Comic-Con can
And I
fit
mean,
into
wouldn't
Allegiant
the
Stadium.
studios and the actors love that energy?
Oh, it would be.
I mean-
can you imagine? First of all, Hall H energy is great, but can you imagine? Ray, think back with me here. In a Allegiant Stadium with, by the way, 65,000. That's if you don't have chairs on the floor. Chairs on the floor, you probably got like 72,000 people can fit in there. So Kevin Feige on stage in front of 72,000 people. He says, "Oh, one more thing. Mahershala Ali is Blade." And can you imagine what the pop? What the pop?
There was better moments in Comic-Con history than that one. So
Well,
I don't know
hey,
why I have to bring
can,
that one up.
Can you imagine when Tom Hiddleston,
Yeah, as Loki.
one of the most iconic moments in CinemaCon history, Tom Hiddleston comes out on stage in full Loki regalia.
I've never gone to a Hall H, but the closest I could compare it to is when we go to CinemaCon and
Yep.
Kevin Feige comes out. I just imagine that room, a bigger room,
Oh, yeah.
filled with nerds.
Yeah, it's-
with the announcements that they make there, it would just be insane.
Yeah.
If that would ever happen, but it's not going to happen in San Diego. Not in that small little room.
No.
You're not going to get that impact. You're not going to get the buzz going anymore in that small
Not to
room.
mention what they can take advantage in terms of showmanship in those stadiums with like the lighting effects and all that stuff. That Hall H just is not.
They can make it a rock concert.
That's the thing,
and
it's
it
already
will
set
be
up.
Insane.
And it made sense before, right? When Marvel wasn't as big, DC, whatever.
And when Comic-Con
these
wasn't
things
as big.
have
Yeah.
outgrown this location.
Yeah.
100%.
And next year, DC with their showcase, it's not going to fit in there. People want to see what James Gunn has to
Dude,
wants
here's the
to
thing.
bring.
Okay, these, my people, the nerds,
My people.
my people. We save up all year. A lot of these kids save up all year, book flights, can't buying their passes, winning a lottery and getting a hotel room. Yay. And they travel in the hopes that they get to go to Hall H, only to get there and find out in days past that they literally had to stand in a line for 48 hours in the hope of getting this magical wrist bracelet that says you have won the chance to get a seat in Hall H. It's time to
the
move past
golden
that. Anyway,
ticket.
Yeah, I was thinking
we
of.
spent way too much time on this. We're going to move on. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Comic-Con is now saying, listen, with the hotel price gouging, we're thinking about moving out. I believe I've laid out a very solid argument about why they should move this thing to Las Vegas.
Oh, you missed one. There's a sixth one too.
Which one's that?
Well, prostitutes no longer have to travel to San Diego. They're
That's-
right there and established.
Okay, as funny as that sounds, for those of you who don't know what Jonathan's referring to, a study was done, and Comic-Con is the number one transitory time of year. More prostitutes travel across the country into San Diego. Why? Because my nerds aren't under their mom's roof or they're away from
They've
their
got
buddies.
for big bucks.
And they
Nerd
think
money is
this
money.
is the time that I can become a man in Las Vegas.
So
They're already
funny.
there. No problem. Anyway, guys, questions for you. What do you think about all this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. We still got to talk about a massive accomplishment for the Despicable Me franchise. And according to reports, Disney may have been hacked and they're threatening to leak a whole bunch of information. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Liquid IV. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Liquid IV. You know, the Summer Olympics are here. I cannot wait for basketball, track and field. Hell, they've even got breakdancing in France this year. And with the Summer Olympics in full swing, hydration is key for athletes and fans. Liquid IV is extraordinary hydration for physical endurance, mental clarity, and overall well-being. A single stick of Liquid IV delivers better hydration than water alone with 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients. One of the things I love about Liquid IV is how easy it is for me to prepare. All I have to do is tear, pour, and enjoy. In the heat of the summer, whether you're out golfing, out walking, or just sitting on the back patio, you need to stay hydrated, and that's where Liquid IV comes in clutch. Liquid IV is the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, and it comes in 4 delicious sugar-free flavors: white peach, green grape, raspberry melon, and lemon lime. So turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code Campea at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code Campea at liquidiv.com. And thank you to our friends at Liquid IV for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
Yeah, so it was an incredible weekend at the box office as Longlegs hit over 22 million in its opening weekend.
Wow.
Inside Out 2 is poised to now pass Mario Brothers with over 1.35 billion, and Despicable Me 4 passed the $437 million mark in just its second weekend, which propelled the Despicable Me franchise to become the first animated franchise in history to cross the $5 billion mark. So, John, how significant is this accomplishment?
This is crazy. First of all, the box office is kind of blowing up. Longlegs, as Paris just kind of mentioned, like over $22 million to become, it's Neon, right? Become the biggest opening ever for Neon, which is just incredible. Inside Out continues to dominate. Now passing the 1.35 billion. By the end of today, it'll pass Mario Brothers to become the 3rd biggest animated film in history.
Sheesh.
And Despicable Me 4, in just 2 weekends, has already passed the $430 million mark on a $100 million budget. And more significantly, takes the franchise over $5 billion. Couple more Toy Stories, maybe that'll be the next one to do it. But this is the first time ever that an animated franchise has pulled in this much money, and it's done it, I believe, in just 7 films, right? So you got Despicable Me's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh no, and only 2 Minion movies.
Mm-hmm.
They've done it in 6 films. 6 films. They've crossed the $5 billion mark. I think this is significant for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you were to ask somebody a few years ago, do you think any animated franchise that's not connected to Disney will hit the $5 billion mark? No, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be a Disney thing, right? Whether Disney Animation or Pixar or something, it's going to be one of those. Now, granted, not a lot of animated franchises that aren't called Land Before Time, or what was the other one? Ice Age?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Ice Ages 1 through 23. This is a non-Disney entity animation.
I would have
principle.
thought it would have gone to the Toy Story franchise.
Yeah, well,
hitting that.
and now, granted, they've had 6. Toy Story's had 4. They're about to have their 5th one.
Yeah. I'll have to do the count on Toy Story.
Yeah, now I'll bet you this. Well, no, I still bet the per film average right now. I bet Despicable Me tops Toy Story right now. We'll see what happens after the next Toy Story film that comes out, I believe, in 2026. So that's when we're getting Toy Story 5. So number one, it's super impressive that it's done it at all. Any film franchise hitting 5 billion. First ever animated one to do it. It's a non-Disney entity. But here's the other thing, and I know I've been bringing this up a lot lately, but it's relevant. It's happening in the midst of this time when everybody was proclaiming that the box office was dead. And I know we had this same conversation when Inside Out came out. I know we had the same conversation when, Quiet Place came out. I know we had this same conversation when this and that and the other thing, and now with Despicable Me. But it is turning, the box office has been on absolute fire lately. On absolute fire. And now with Long Legs. Like, I haven't looked it up, but Ray, maybe you can check this out for me. What did the Nicolas Cage film Pig make on its opening weekend? And then what did the Nicolas Cage film Dream Scenario make opening weekend?
Pig made opening weekend 970,000.
970,000.
Then what was the other one?
Dream Scenario.
Dream Scenario.
And Dream Scenario, which is a movie I didn't like, but everybody else did.
That one made opening weekend 220,000.
220,000. And now, how much did the big one, the Nicolas Cage film, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which I did get a kick out of that film. I thought that was pretty good.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah. So what did that one ended up pulling
That one
in?
made 7 million.
7 million. So I mentioned this on Open Mic this weekend. When Long Legs was coming out, I thought the trailers looked great. And I thought, but it's going to be another one of those Nicolas Cage things. A movie that looks great, like Pig, or Dream Scenario, or Unbearable Weight, but no one's going to go see it. No one's going to go see it. And then all of a sudden they were projecting like 20 million. I'm like, what? And sure enough, 22 million. Incredible. So you got Long Legs doing that. Despicable Me for crossing the Black Adam mark in 10 days. You've got Inside Out 2 continuing to just climb the all-time chart. It's absolutely insane. So good on them. Congratulations to them for becoming the first animated franchise to cross the $5 billion mark in only 6 films. Well done, and we'll see how far they can go. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this with Despicable Me? I mean, and other great things doing well at the box office as well, but crossing that $5 billion mark. How significant do you think that is? Whatever you think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
Yeah, so it looks like Sony may not be the only studio to be the target of hackers. According to Variety, the hacker group known as Null Bulge has stolen over 1 terabyte of data from Disney. It is unknown for certain what the data may contain, and there is little information presently available that verifies the veracity of these claims. Claims state that Null Bulge accessed Disney's Slack server and collected information about the company's upcoming projects, including concept art. So, John, how big a deal of this is if it's true?
You know what? If this was almost any other studio, and again, make sure we understand, the report is saying that the veracity of the information is not yet known. There is a group claiming they've done this. There have been other groups that have claimed, and it's turned out to be true. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So I just want to make sure we all understand the report is making it very clear that they have not independently verified this yet, but it sounds legit. Okay, so how big of a deal is this? Stealing a terabyte of information from a Slack discussion in almost any other studio, I don't think would be that big of a deal. You know, if it was Paramount, oh, we found out they're going to do another Top Gun. Oh, they might do another Transformers. Okay, yeah, and we all kind of expect that and whatever. Or, I don't know, if it was Lionsgate. I remember, we're talking, not talking in-depth, down in the archives information. We're talking about Slack conversations. Maybe not that big of a deal. But with Disney, that can be a big deal. Because with Disney, you're talking Disney Animation, Nat Geo. Granted, not a lot of people are going to get super excited about the future plans of Pixar, even though I love Pixar. But you also have Star Wars. And whatever the state of Star Wars is right now, as soon as you say Star Wars, for good reasons or bad reasons, people's ears peak up. Everybody who pays attention when you start off the conversation with Star Wars. And of course, Marvel. again, regardless of whatever state Marvel happens to be in right now, you mentioned Marvel, people paying attention. And knowing where's the MCU going, what's happening in Phase 72, and all this kind of stuff. These are all questions that everybody wants to know, and that Marvel and Disney keep extremely well-guarded secrets, right? At least the best that they can. These are the types of things that would be discussed in Slack conversations amongst executives, amongst, managers, amongst division heads, stuff like that. They'll be talking about, okay, so, the search for Mahershala Ali's replacement as Blade is going along fine. I mean, I'm not saying that's in the Slack discussion, but it's one of the possibilities. When they start saying that Fantastic Four 2 is already planned for 2028 or whatever, these sorts of things are hugely consequential to a company like Marvel or Star Wars, which again tries to keep this stuff really well guarded, and the fact that everybody freaks out about. And what a Kevin Feige doesn't want to have happen is have a piece of information that gets out that doesn't have the context of movies that are supposed to come before it, and have everybody figuring out, why the hell are they doing that movie? Well, you weren't supposed to know about that movie. And if you didn't find out about that movie for another 2 years, it would be clear and you'd understand why we're doing that movie, because these other movies are coming out. It's this type of stuff that they try. So I think it's actually pretty damn important. I think this could be a very big deal. Not to mention, there's parts in here that there's personal information about employees. I mean, and that's just, that's just, you're crossing lines here. I mean, breaking and stealing information is crossing line anyway, but now you're getting into threatening people's lives with releasing personal information and stuff like that. That's a line that shouldn't be crossed and all that kind of stuff. But sticking to the entertainment stuff of this, this could be a pretty big deal. So I already had some people ask me today, do I think Disney will acquiesce and pay off whatever ransom these people are saying they want in order to not release this information? No, I don't. I think Disney would hate it if this stuff got out, but it doesn't kill them. You know what does kill them? Paying a ransom to a hacker group. Then every hacker group in the nation starts trying to hack Disney because they know Disney pays ransom. And you can't do it. So I have a feeling if this information is true, as the report is cautions us about, I have a feeling whatever this information is, it's going to get made public, because I don't think Disney's going to deal. I just don't think it is. And they'll just have to deal with whatever consequences there is that comes out as a result of it. And because listen, again, it's Slack. I don't think you're going to get the script for Secret Wars in it. I don't think you're going to get the script for Fantastic Four in a Slack conversation, but still probably a lot of information they don't want to have come out yet. And it's the more and more we move into this world where the technology advances more and more and all this kind of stuff, and hacking techniques get more and more sophisticated. I mean, I think we're going to find more and more stuff like this. It's just going to be interesting to see how it goes. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, to you, what do you think could be the worst thing for Disney that comes out of these Slack conversations? Is it the revelation of, hey, hey, Bobby, we just finished the contract negotiations. We're Robert Downey Jr., so he's completely on board for Secret Wars. I don't know. What's the worst thing that could come out of that? Would you deal with them if you were Disney? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Gametime. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Gametime. My wife Ann and I love going to events, whether they're comedy shows, concerts, an LA Lakers game. I mean, just the other night we went to go see Ronnie Chang and it was awesome. We love having these new experiences and new memories. And our sponsor Gametime makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster and easier, even if you don't buy tickets right away. Because prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer you get to the show start time. With killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying event tickets. I couldn't believe how easy and most importantly, intuitively, the entire app works. Finding the event I was looking for couldn't have been easier. The way it lays out the map of the venue, letting you know exactly where the seats are that you're looking for, and how easy the process was to choose and buy those tickets. So don't worry if you think you're too late to get tickets to that big event you and your friend want to go to. They have last minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever. So guys, take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code Campea for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Campea, CAMPEA, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And thank you to our friends at Gametime, who, by the way, that's where I got my tickets to the John Williams Maestro of the Movies concert the other night, for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Okay, guys, let's get to the most important stuff here. Your comments and questions, shall we? Paris, what do we got up first?
Yes, so the canon says, we all knew where the Homelander Sage arc was going, but I've been fascinated in analyzing his decision to get her. Was he truly vulnerable? Bored? Did he really believe he couldn't come up with complex plans? I think inside he likes creating enemies.
I don't know that he likes creating enemies, but you could listen, honestly, I thought him going to Sage was one of the best character moments for Homelander, and one of the most intelligent moves he's ever done. Like, I love that conversation he had with her when he first goes to her apartment, he says, I'm smart enough to know to listen, or something along those lines, right? And I thought that was great. But again, his own hubris ultimately and inevitably was going to get in the way. So we get to that scene. So it's going to be, listen, we have not seen the last of Sage. We have not seen the last of Sage. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. All right, what's next?
Gus's movie fart says, I sent this question last episode. Jonathan missed it. Superman and Batman's IP will be in public domain 2034, 2035. Can Marvel or any publisher acquire it?
We've answered this question. We just recently, so I think your question did get answered. Anyway, I'll answer it again. No, you can't publish. Here's what you can do. When something becomes public domain, it's not everything in its totality. It's specific to what the actual work was at the time. So for example, once Superman gets into the public domain, and by the way, they're still going to have millions of dollars worth of lawyers trying to get things changed. But let's say it goes into public domain like Winnie the Pooh did. Okay, you can make a Superman movie. You can do that. But you can only use elements of Superman that were part of the character, the way he was and when he was originally created. So that means your Superman can't fly. Because when Superman was created initially, Superman didn't fly. He leapt over buildings in single bounds, but he didn't fly. There's a lot of things about his history and his story and his mythology that all came later, and you can't use any of that. For example, Thor. Thor is already in the public domain. Did you know that? Did you know that you and your buddies today can go and buy a little Canon camera and make your own Thor movie? Here's the catch. You can't use anything in your Thor movie that was ever introduced by somebody else after the original mythology. So it's there, but it's a little dicey. It's a little bit dicey. That's why, here's a great example of this. Back when Sam Raimi did his Oz the Great and Powerful movie, he could do it because the original Wizard of Oz book went into the public domain. But a lot of things in the original Wizard of Oz movies was created for the movie and wasn't part of the book. So for example, he couldn't use ruby red slippers, just using it as an example, because the ruby red slippers were introduced in the movie, not in the book. So it's a very, very complex web you're going to have to go through. All right, what's next?
Dad Joke says, hi, John. With the Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn buckets being released, might I ask, how can these be purchased? Do we have to go to the theater in person on the available sale date? Do you need a movie ticket to the actual movie to buy them?
I can only give you my guess. My guess is yes on both counts.
Yeah.
Because you can't get to the concession stand of a movie theater until you've gone through the ticket checker. So you're going to have to buy a ticket and you're going to have to go in. Now, little birdies told me from AMC, because I still have a lot of people at AMC who write to me from all my years there. Anyway, I had a little birdie from AMC tell me that they understand that the buckets will be available on the 23rd. That should be next Tuesday, right? So in theory, starting next Tuesday, if the information given to me is correct, you should be able to go in, but I believe you're going to have to go into the theater and buy it, unless you want to go on eBay and spend $700 on it from somebody who already went to go get it. That's my guess, at any rate. We'll find out. Believe me when I tell you, Ray is looking into this every single day.
Yeah, 700 is a good price, though, John.
700 is a good price.
Just look for my name, Ray Aura, my eBay.
All right, what's next?
All right. Matan Valensky says, the cheapness of the Acolyte and other Star Wars and Marvel shows remind me that Lucas hired his clone Ronald D. Moore for Star Wars Underworld because he wanted to know how BSG looked good on a TV budget.
You know what's funny? I, every year, don't do a complete series rewatch, but every year I go back and watch a bunch of episodes of Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica. And there are three things that always stand out to me. Number one, greatest television show ever made. Number two, I cannot believe how good it looked and the production of it all is for a TV show. And number three, I can't believe how good it all looked for the production of a TV show that came out 20 years ago, 15 years ago? What year did it come out? What did year did Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica come out? But it's insane. And that was on the Sci-Fi Network, I think, when it first came out. It was absolutely crazy what they were able to do.
04.
So 20 years ago,
Yeah.
that thing came out. Oh, and the music to it was so good. That very first scene where Six comes on the the Armistice Station and meets the guys, like, oh my God, like a Cylon actually showed up, and then they nuke it. Oh, like just for the greatest show ever made. Fantastic. All right, what's next?
All right, this was a three-parter for Matan Valensky. He said Ronald D. Moore recently had a deal with Disney, but returned to Sony.
Yeah, started at number one.
That was number one.
That was number
so
one.
this is number two. Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
So had a deal with Disney, but returned to Sony. I feel he could have taught Marvel and Lucasfilm to look great on a TV budget, and the Acolyte doesn't even look like it's high budget. Even if Ronald D. Moore no longer works for Disney, they should find a way to scoop the people working on Apple TV Plus Foundation with how great that show looks for less than $90 million for a season, unless the VFX house has the Apple Suicide Net installed.
So here's the thing. Ronald D. Moore did not do the visual effects or the production design. I love Ronald D. Moore. As a matter of fact, he's also the same guy who does that show that Ray and Rob love so much, For All Mankind.
Yeah.
That's also a Ronald D. Moore show. But Ronald D. Moore did not do the production design. He did not do the visual effects. He did not do the set design. He crafted the greatest show of all time, but he works with the story and creates that, and then has other people that does that. So I don't know that having Ronald D. Moore would have changed much for those things, other than the fact that you would have had a much better story with much better characters. So that's something to keep in mind too. But listen, other than WandaVision, and again, it was appropriate for Ms. Marvel because Ms. Marvel's supposed to be the story about a young teenage girl in her smaller world, right? But I am constantly, even Loki looks like a TV show. It looked, and not a particularly high budget TV show at times. So both Star Wars and Marvel's TV stuff has always come across to me as either Star Wars light or MCU light. And to me, that just makes me go, then why are you making it? What's the point of doing it if you're not going to do it right? Anyway, that's just kind of my take on it. All right, what's next?
All right. Marty Leonard says, Longlegs had an A+ marketing campaign. Yep, but it's not the scariest movie of the past decade. That still goes to Hereditary. Solid watch and worth a night out at the movies. Movie theater I was in completely full. Well, the movie theater I was in was completely full and people had fun.
I wouldn't say it's like the scariest movie of the decade or even close to being the scariest movie of the decade. But I mean, look, they had a $10 million digital-only marketing campaign. In a world right now where a $50 million marketing campaign is considered modest and small, maybe not for Neon, but still, a $10 million digital-only marketing campaign for a movie that cost just south of $10 million. So they spent about $20 million for producing and marketing the film, and they made it all back plus more in the first weekend from it. Well done. Now, now, I can already hear everybody going, well, that's how all the studios should do it. The vast majority of movies that are made that way flop. Again, just the Nicolas Cage thing. Pig didn't even make $1 million in its opening weekend. Unbearable Weight of Mass Talent was $7 million on its opening weekend. Dream Scenario didn't even make $1 million on its opening weekend. I mean, that's the norm. That's what norm. But in this case, they knocked it out of the park. So good for them.
That marketing was great. Go right.
Oh, sorry. I'm loving the strategy of the recent horror films. Maybe Smile. Remember the Smile marketing?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
guerrilla marketing.
This Long Legs, the video I watched before we started the show, actually now I want to see this in theaters. So even that video, that small little video about that girl's heartbeat, now I want to go see it in the theaters. If you guys haven't seen that video, go check it out.
All right. What's next?
Anonymous says, how much of an impact will the fact that there's an Israeli actress and character be on the income of the movie Captain America 4?
None. I really,
I don't
I mean,
think
there are
anyone's
going to
aware.
be some
Yeah, I
people
don't-
that care, but we've seen situations like this before. At the end of the day, it really doesn't have that big of an impact.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
This name.
Luke, I am your plumber, says, that's great. Just wondering, is there anything in particular you are looking forward to in the Deadpool movie? I always look forward for the beginning credits. It always makes me laugh. Also, my prediction is 267 million opening weekend. Thanks and have a great day.
You know what? A bunch of years ago, I think when I was still at AMC, I kind of developed this new mentality of there's nothing I look forward to in a movie. Because that's me writing a script in my head that I now want this to happen. If this doesn't happen in the movie, then you leave disappointed. I'm just like, just show me what you're going to show me. What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the brilliance that they bring these movies. I love Deadpool 1 and 2. I think they're so good. And I cannot wait to see what they're going to do here. And by seeing what they're going to do, I mean that. I mean, I want to see what they're going to do. I don't have any preconceived notion about what they need to have. But yes, I do hope they have another great song. Like Celine Dion's Ashes. I'll say it's the greatest song in any comic book movie ever. Because it's so perfect. It's number one, it's a great song, but it's also perfect to the movie. It's absolutely perfect to the movie. So hopefully they'll be able to do something like that with Deadpool 3. It'll probably be a Taylor Swift song, but we'll see what they come up with. 10 days away. 10 days. Can't wait. All right. What's next?
Heisenberg says, hey, John and co. Hope you are well. Who doesn't love Rob, right? Also, love the dynamic between you and him. So my question is, when will he be back on the show? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. Rob is currently undertaking one of the biggest, probably a bigger project for him than Tango Shalom was. He's doing an audio drama right now, and he's like really pouring all of his heart and soul into that. So I honestly don't know. And you know what? I haven't pestered him about it. I just like, hey, whatever and whenever. And maybe Rob won't be back. I don't know at this point, but he's working really hard. He just texted me the other day, actually, updating me on what's going on with his audio drama. By the way, for those of you who are going to be at Comic-Con this year, Rob's doing a panel of his new, of his new drama, which is called Something Noir. What's it?
Oh gosh! Now it just left me.
I'm looking at the poster
It's
for it
Something Noir.
in my mind's eye. I can see the poster, and it's Something Noir. Is it Crime Noir?
I think it's True Noir.
True Noir. That's
Thank
the name
you,
of
Mr.
it.
Forklift. Yeah, it left
True
my-
Noir. So he's got a panel for that at
And you guys
Comic-Con
better
this
make
year.
that panel, because
Yeah.
from what I heard, what he's shown or like let me listen to, it sounds absolutely incredible.
Yep, he's put together a great cast of characters on it. If you get a chance, get on down and see it there. All right, what's next?
All right. Is it
Lauren.
Lauren? Lauren says, John, after hearing the news of a potential MIB Jump Street crossover, my only question is, do we really need this? The film that has already done this, more or less, is 1987's The Hidden, which starred Kyle MacLachlan and Michael Nori. How do you top that?
No one's
ever
movie.
seen it.
No one knows that movie.
Nobody knows that
1987.
movie. No one's ever seen it. And what? Okay, first of all, bring up the question again for a second.
Yeah,
there,
we're gonna
Jonathan.
bring this question back up, Lauren.
Bring it up, homie.
So, when you ask, do we really need this? Here's the truth. No movie in history has ever been needed.
Yeah, bring it up again, homie.
Yeah, you know what? There.
Bring that up.
Yeah, bring it
Boom.
up.
No, the reality is no movie ever in the history of Hollywood has ever been needed. So why do a 21 Jump Street and what was it? Backstreet Boys? No,
Yeah.
what was it? 20 MIB.
man.
Because there's potential for something in
Backstreet
there that
Boys.
we've never seen before, and I think it would be a lot of fun. I just think it could be an awful lot of fun, and I would like to see it.
I mean, Meet Joe Dirt had to be made.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like there was,
Iconic.
yeah,
We needed that
completely
to
iconic.
jump to the darker timeline that we're on now. So that was necessary. But yeah.
Waterboy, Adam Sandler.
Now
had to
I
be made.
want to see the
Hey.
21 Jump Street Backstreet Boys crossover. Now I kind of want to see that. I kind of want that now.
Heck yeah, man.
All right, what's next?
Analo says, thanks to the boys, I have now started watching Banshee and Supernatural. I have been really enjoying these shows so far.
Yeah, because that's where Anthony Starr got his start, right? I think was with Banshee. So, I mean, so a lot of people on that. And yes, listen, if you go back now and start watching Supernatural, you're going to be like, oh, that guy is in it. And that guy, I mean, like, basically, the only person he hasn't brought over yet, Eric Kripke, who of course is the creator and showrunner of Supernatural, the only real key person from Supernatural he hasn't brought over yet is Jared Padalecki. I mean, that's it. And because he was doing his, what was the name of it? Something Texas Ranger? Walker, Texas Ranger. He was doing that, but that got canceled. So he's got a little bit of time because he's literally, Bobby's been brought over. Ackles has come over. There's literally been like 10 people who've been on Supernatural. Now they just got to get Jared. Just get him over there. All right, what's next?
There could be only one Walker Texas Ranger.
All right.
That's right.
Anonymous says, so I went to see Fly Me to the Moon over the weekend. I thought it was amazing and definitely deserves some Oscar buzz
Wow.
with Scarlett and for Scarlett and Channing. Speaking of which, if Marvel Studios wants a new Steve Rogers after
Fly me the moon.
Fly Me to the Moon, all right, Channing is perfect in my opinion.
No. Listen, I am Channing Tatum for me is like one of the most interesting actor fan things I've ever had, because there was a number of years where I said, this was when I was doing the movie blog, Channing Tatum is the worst actor in Hollywood who gets work. I used to think, and I was right, he was terrible.
Yeah.
He used to be terrible.
He was.
But today, I'm a big fan because he did exactly what he should do. He put his head down and worked and worked. And he's talked before about the coaching he got and the train, and he worked and he worked at it and he worked at it. And then he really started to find his stride in comedy. And I think it wasn't 21 Jump Street. I think it was the one, something he did before that, where I went, you know what? He's starting to get there. He's starting to come around. And he just kept getting better and better and better and better. And today I'm a massive fan of his. I don't see him as a Steve Rogers, though. I still think he could have been a great Gambit. And I think we're going to see him as Gambit in Deadpool. But by the way, I found out, I teased this a little bit on open mic. I found out for sure a big celebrity who is going to be popping up in Deadpool and Wolverine. And I'm not going to say it. I'll tell you guys after the show.
No, thank you.
Oh, you don't want to know? Okay,
No.
I won't tell you if you don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
Okay, I won't tell you.
No.
But, and I will say this. It is somebody, there have been about 50 big predictions. It is one of those big predictions that I can confirm is actually
Does it
happening.
excite you? Like, are you thinking why?
It does excite
Oh
me.
boy.
It does excite me. So I'm like, again, it's a small thing. It's a small thing, but it's a big celebrity,
Hey,
and I'm excited about it.
I will say good news on this movie, Fly Me to the Moon, because
Oh, yeah.
I was hoping it would be people would enjoy the film.
So far, it has only made like 19 million though, so we'll see.
Very small marketing
Yeah.
campaign.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
many moon lovers out there.
Very
Yeah.
like if you would have told me a month ago that a Scarlett Johansson Channing Tatum movie coming out against a little neon horror movie, Longlegs, and Longlegs would beat it, that would have been crazy.
I think because most people feel like, oh, this is going to go to streaming or something like this.
Yeah, probably.
It's an Amazon movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
So people probably figure it's got a short window.
Yeah.
No, it definitely has a short window.
Hmm.
Like with the Blue Angels film that we watched, the next week it was on
Yeah.
Amazon.
All right, what's next?
Joey Hawkins says, "Hey, Campea crew. That comment about Fly Me to the Moon was from me, by the way. Marty, I love that. Scorsese. Every villain was a good guy until they weren't. Me, when the AF was Palpatine, ever a good guy. Thanks, and bring on the fill."
I'm sure he was. That's the thing. Even in Star Wars lore, at some point, Palpatine was just a guy. And I really love it when movies or TV shows give us that perspective. At some point, like at least like Martin Scorsese, everybody was a good guy until they weren't. And even Palpatine would have been that, right? And I don't think he was born bad. I think at some point something got influenced him to become what he became.
Jaws was just a fish.
All right, what's
Jaws was just a little baby
just a
fish.
fish? All right, what's next?
Stubble McShave says, "I agree that there are a lot of original movies being made today, but if you look how big the production budgets are, it's clear that the studios are putting most of their money on sequels and established IPs. It's probably a rate of 5-1.
Well, yeah, but that's never not been the case. I mean, then again, Barbie was very much an original film. Oppenheimer was very much an original film. I mean, it was based on a real person, but it was not a pre-existing IP or anything like that. But it also makes more sense, and it always has made more sense, that more of the money will go into recognizable IP, because the first and biggest hill that any movie has to get over is to get recognition, right? And with IP that we listen, there's a reason. More than half the movies that come out are not sequels, not IPs, nothing. They're purely original films. But what do people talk more about? We as individuals, we will naturally talk more about things that we recognize. Therefore, it's a slightly more safer bet for the studios and stuff like that. And by the way, movie ticket sales prove it. People go. Why do they make sequels and IP? Because we as audience members, we gravitate more towards those. We just talked about like the streak that Nicolas Cage was on. Pig, Dream Scenario, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Nobody went to go see those. Those are 3 wildly original films. Nobody went to go see them. And then every once in a while, we'll get something like Longlegs, that did get people's attention. They went out to go see it. That's great. But IPs, more often than not, more people will go to those. So it's just a natural thing, but it's always been that way. The important thing is, even in the midst of that, studios have continued to make great original film. It's just incumbent on us as filmgoers to go out, check it out, and support it. All right, what's next?
It's a two-parter. So the trailer Didn't Say So says, Kinds of Kindness is an anthology film featuring 3 shorts, all with the same cast. A man who seeks independence from his boss, who controls all aspects of his life. When a cop's missing wife is recovered, he suspects her to be an imposter.
Oop. Hang on. Oh, shoot. Oh, here we go.
There we go. Expects her to be an imposter. While on a mission to find someone capable of resurrecting the dead for her sex cult, a woman tries... This escalated quickly. All right.
This movie was called The Paris Rose Story.
Oh, I was not expecting this. Okay, a woman tries reconnecting with her estranged family. The film works as a sort of series of surrealist one-act plays. Not sure how you could market it.
Okay, so as somebody who... I don't know if this is the same viewer or not, but somebody wrote in the other day to tell us what Kevin Costner's Horizon was about, to which all of us went, none of us knew that was the movie's about because the trailers never told us. So somebody said, John, why aren't you going to see Kinds of Kindness? Because you loved Poor Things. I did love Poor Things. Poor Things was great. Same director, same star. Why didn't I go see it? Because I have a personal rule in my movie going. If you, as a studio, can't be bothered to tell me, this is the same thing with Horizon. If you, as a studio, cannot be bothered to tell me what your movie's about, I'm not going to... Listen, time is a commodity that I can't make more of. I can't make more time. I have a certain amount of time in my life. The clock's ticking for all of us. And if I'm going to set aside an evening of my time and however much money I got to spend and how much time I need to do, which is a non-renewable resource, you got to give me a reason to go. And just saying, it's Emma Stone. And I love Emma Stone. Love her. But just telling me Emma Stone's in a movie is not enough. Tell me what the movie's about. Why should I come and spend an evening? That's why I didn't go see Horizon. That's why I didn't go see whatever the hell this one is called. Kinds of Kindness. And I'm not going to go see it. Because if you can't be bothered to tell me if I need one of my viewers to write in to tell me what your movie's about, you haven't done your job, so you don't get my ticket. And it's just kind of that simple. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, The Dark Knight is a perfect movie. Perfect pacing, the twists are genius, and every character resonates. In my opinion, Bale and Oldman get overlooked because they have quieter roles, but they're excellent. Every emotional beat of their hits, they sell us all the way.
I disagree that it is a perfect movie, but it's a fabulous movie. I mean, I think it was just last year, Ann and I sat down and watched Dark Knight again. I'm just like, man, this movie's so good. Because it's one of those films that it's very rare that you get a comic book film that transcends the genre, like Winter Soldier did, like The Dark Knight does, where it's not even primarily a comic book film. It's more of a, in the case of Winter Soldier, it's a 70s political thriller. In the case of The Dark Knight, it's more like an underworld crime movie. It's just so good and so fantastic. And for me, it's not perfect, but it is absolutely one of the three, and put it in whichever position you want, 1, 2, or 3, whatever one you want. But I think it's one of the 3 greatest comic book movies ever made, because specifically it transcends the genre. Now, Logan is another film that's like that, right? It completely transcends the genre. And that's kind of what The Dark Knight did. And it's the reason Christopher Nolan is who he is today. All right, what's next?
Jay Pinnix says, Hey everyone, each person on the show today, let me hear your answer. 1 to 10 odds we see Owen Wilson in a new Deadpool movie. For the sake of continuing, oh my God, why can I ever say this word? Continuity, that's it. Thank you, Jonathan. Why the F would we not have Mobius on a jet ski in this movie? Love the show, 3000, thanks for all you do.
Here's the problem. Just contrary to popular belief, Loki was not a top 10 most viewed show of the year or anything like that. There's going to be a lot of people who go to see Deadpool and Wolverine who've never seen Loki. That's just the reality. That's the reality. So why wouldn't we see Owen Wilson on a jet ski? Because the truth is, the vast majority of the people who are going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine will have no idea what that is all about. Why is guy here? And why is he on a jet ski? A lot of people just aren't going to get it. Now, we very well could see him because the TVA is a part of the story. They've introduced it in the trailers. So people who haven't even seen Loki are going to be able to wrap their heads around what the TVA is and everything. So Owen Wilson popping up, I'd say 40% chance.
So you're going to give it a 4 out of 10?
I would give it a 4 out of 10.
I'd say
chance.
10.
Oh, you're saying you're like guaranteed lock.
No. I'm saying 10, and my only reasoning for it is I love Owen Wilson.
You just want him in
because you want it.
As Mobius, and so I believe he's going to be in there. That's the only reason.
I'm going to reel it back to a 6.
I'm going to give it a 5. I'm in the middle.
right.
But I want him there, so 7 for wanting him there.
I'll go I'll say for 4.
I don't even quite comprehend. Like, this TVA could be in a different universe.
Yeah,
so
true.
Yeah, could be. But then that's the thing that confused me. Isn't the TVA supposed to be
Those are
outside
timelines.
Yeah.
But those
of
are timelines,
and
but not
let's-
universes.
We'll wait for them. to explain
Time
that.
is in every universe, so I don't
we'll
know.
see.
We'll wait.
Because there's different Kangs.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
This is a
E3-parter.
3-parter. So Ethan says, Hey, John and crew, happy Monday. I have a completely random question that has been bothering me since I saw the film, but I was wondering what your opinion is on the matter. So at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, the spell that made everyone forget in regards to Alec
Here we go. Yeah.
the spell that
Ethan.
made everyone forget Peter Parker had to have worked in all the multiverses, right? So everyone in the multiverse forgot who Peter Parker is, correct? Otherwise, why would it stop the villains from other universes coming into the main MCU universe? He had to live with that fact. If it were me...
No.
So doesn't this all mean that Andrew and Toby were sent back to universes where no one remembers them? I guess it doesn't really matter. I doubt we'll be seeing them again anyway, but as a fanboy, it sucks to think they may be, may be what happened to them.
Okay.
Man, that made my head hurt.
That was a lot.
My guess is this was a conversation that came up in several circles after the movie came out. And what we as a lot of fans basically did was, let's not worry about it. Because yes, there is some logical fallacy in the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home. Because if everybody who knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man forgets that fact, then once Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's, that means Kirsten Dunst forgets it. Doesn't know her Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man. That means Emma Stone, actually Emma Stone's dead. So it doesn't really matter. Emma Stone is dead in that Spider-Man universe. So maybe that's the case. Maybe, who knows? You know what? Maybe, as some people think, I don't think this will happen, but some people believe it will, so maybe it will. Maybe down the road when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire appear in the MCU again, maybe one of the things that they're mentioned, I got home and nobody knew who I was. Like my closest friends in my family who I revealed my secret to, they don't know who I was anymore. I don't know. Maybe that'll be the case.
Yeah.
But it's one of those comic book logic things where it's just best not to think about it. Just like when I was watching X-Men Origins Wolverine, I'm like, wait a minute. Wasn't Taylor Mayne Sabretooth? When did Liev Schreiber become Sabretooth? Just best not to think about it. That's the best advice. All right, what's next?
All right.
Mr. I.
Mr. I says, in regards to Alec Baldwin, everyone seems to forget that Alec has to live with the fact that he witnessed someone die in front of him due to a trigger he pulled. Yeah. He is not at fault for having an improperly inspected prop gun handed to him. He has to live with that fact. If it were me, I'd be pretty messed up over it.
Oh, he's traumatized.
Oh, for sure.
No, he's absolutely traumatized. You guys remember I mentioned, back in The Crow when Brandon Lee was shot, the actor who had the gun was Michael Massey. And rightfully so, he was never charged because it wasn't his fault. But he had to leave acting for a number of years. As a matter of fact, Michael Massey, one of the stars of The Crow, up until he died, he never watched the movie. He couldn't bring himself ever to watch the movie. He had to take years off of acting. Listen, I told the story on open mic, but there was this time I was driving through Northern Ontario and it was the middle of the night and a couple of deer shot across the road right in front of me. I had no way of avoiding it. And I know I hit one of them. I stopped the van, got out. I didn't see it anywhere. So it clearly ran off. I don't know if it died of injuries. I don't know if it was perfectly fine, just got the wind knocked. I don't know. But I couldn't sleep for a week because I thought I heard a deer. I thought I killed a deer. Yeah. It was a little one. It was fucking Bambi. And like, I couldn't sleep for a week. He'll never get over this.
Yeah.
He will never get over this.
I mean, I have a story like yours too. Just the other day I was going over the hill and I don't drive that fast, like 20 miles per hour, like really slow. And then there's a squirrel that ran across, and I felt it. I felt it hit my tire. And then I looked in my rear view, and it would roll all the way across. Oh. And then when I went back, it was laid there. I couldn't drive on that road the whole next week, just because the car is so much bigger than a squirrel, right? But when it hits your tire, when it hits your tire, you feel it. You
feel it. You can feel it if you run over a stone.
And I'm like, oh my God, I still haven't forgot about it.
Remember last night?
I still get sad talking about it.
Last night, like I may not look like it. I am currently camping. Ann and I do this. We'll go out to our campsites on a Sunday.
John is AI. He's actually in the campsite right now.
I'm actually in the camper right now. No, but then I wake up like at 5 a.m. and I drive in here to do the show. And then as soon as the show's done, I go back out to the campsite where Ann and the dogs are waiting. But we were all hanging out there last night, me, Ray, Ann, and we decided to go out. So we get in the car at the campsite. And as we're driving through the campsite, there were like a million little adorable cottontail bunnies. Like, I'm not kidding. Like they were all running across the street. They're all playing and they're like having fun.
Each other.
And I'm just like gripping the edge of my seat, like, God, please don't let us hit one of these rabbits. I'll never be able to sleep. Anyway, sorry.
Anyways, Alec
Move
Baldwin.
on. What's
Trust
next?
me, Alec Baldwin will never forget.
Yeah, Al
Yeah.
Ball will never
That's-
get over this.
All right. The Itsy Bitsy Spider says the biggest problem I could see with Comic-Con moving would be the site fees. Site fees for the big convention centers in Vegas, plus the fees for getting something like Allegiant Stadium for Hall H panels would lead to a much bigger cost for the convention.
Maybe yes, but look, I remember here's an actually I'm not going to reach over and grab it right now, but
That's
I-
what she said.
Or he said. Or they said.
We're open-minded.
Yeah.
when we won the Academy of Web Television Award for Best Live Series on the internet, the awards were held in Las Vegas. Actually, they were held in the same ballroom that the World Series of Poker has its main event in, or did at the time. If the Academy of Web Television could afford to have their big event in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact, because of the sheer amount of facilities in Las Vegas, that actually mitigates the cost. It actually keeps the cost down. And when you're talking about, when you're a convention that brings in 150,000 people, and by the way, if you do it in Las Vegas, you can bring in 300,000 people. When you bring in that many people paying tickets and bringing in tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue in, the city will work with you and they'll make it happen. They'll make it happen and you'll have the money to do it. So yeah, I think it's something that can easily be worked around, because in some ways, doing it in Las Vegas will actually be cheaper than trying to do it in a smaller town like a San Diego.
And let's just agree that, like, no matter where they move, price gouging the hotels, if that's their main concern, it's going to happen anywhere they go.
Doesn't happen in Vegas.
It doesn't happen in Vegas?
like I said,
even
when-
at CinemaCon? Like,
Yeah,
Caesar's
even at
Palace
CinemaCon.
doesn't-
At
Caesar's Palace doesn't
even
jack up?
at the one hotel that CinemaCon happens in, normal price.
Oh, I thought they always raised it a little bit.
No, now
Okay.
listen, like any hotels, once they start getting to capacity, the remaining rooms, they'll go up. You'll definitely get weekends in Vegas, like anywhere, where hotel rooms will be a little bit more expensive than others. They literally triple, quadruple, whatever in San Diego. In Vegas during CES, maybe they went up 10% or
Yeah,
something like
not
that.
to mention, people aren't buying 48 hours before Comic-Con. They're getting these months in advance.
Yeah, months and months and months in advance. All right, what's
So
next?
that was it. That's all we
Oh,
got.
that's it.
All right, well, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. We're going to have some neat stuff to tell you guys. Anyway, I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora,
I'll see you later.
Jonathan Boyko,
He's like,
Like,
neat
neat
stuff.
stuff? What are you going to tell us?
Harris Rose.
Toodles.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.